JR, what do you do on a daily basis to take care of yourself?
Do you want the short version or do you want the long version?
Give it to me straight.
I drink lots of water.
You drink lots of water.
I drink lots of water.
That's good. Water is good.
I got that dish.
Hey y'all, it's Onika.
And JR.
And you are dishing with Dainty Dish. How you doing today, JR?
I am doing fantastic. Why are you asking me what I do to...
Well, we'll get into it.
okay.
Don't rush it.
Don't rush it?
Don't rush
Okay.
the
All right.
moment.
All right, I'm not going to rush the moment. I'm doing all right. I'm just kicking it today. I was working from home earlier. So, you're just here now after lunch. And, I'm just relaxing. Just kicking it.
All right.
So what's going on with you in the mental health world?
It's been a rough go. You guys all know what's been going on with me, but I've been trying my very best to step outside my front door, take chances, and, get back to the matter at hand, which is living my life.
We took a couple weeks off.
Yeah, we took a couple weeks off. I was much needed, but we are back. And just for instance, today I ended up doing my personal training, which was good, getting back to exercising. And I also saw my therapist today, and she gave me some really great tips on self-care, which is what I wanted to talk about today, self-care. That is why I asked you the question I asked you in the very, very beginning.
I don't think I really knew what you meant by self-care by the definition there. So.
Well, by definition, because I found a really good one to define self-care, so I wanted to just give it to you straight. The practice of taking action to preserve one's health, the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, and particularly during times of stress.
Okay, so what do I actually do on a daily basis?
Yeah, what do you do on a daily basis or a weekly basis?
So water is actually
water
real.
Is key.
That is key. But I also exercise. I read to stimulate my mind, and what else do I do? I work out. I read. I take some vitamins because I got some deficiencies. So that's kind of where I'm at. So yeah, that's what I do for self-care.
Well, I've found self-care in the last couple of weeks to be a little bit challenging. For people with mental health issues, like with my bipolar, I find it difficult to get through situations where I'm not like constantly on alert or anxious or not able to focus on the task at hand. So things fall by the wayside, like showering, brushing my teeth, taking my meds, so I've been trying lately to do more things to take care of myself. So making sure I take a shower every day, making sure I get out of bed instead of just falling under the covers and just living there for days on end. Getting out, making my bed, cleaning my space, making sure my space is neat. And I've been doing a lot of writing. So
I think that the number one thing that I forgot to say is lists.
Lists.
Yeah.
You make a lot of lists.
Yeah, I've got a list. I've got like a little board that's got 3 sections. I've got section 1 that has the number one thing I need to complete that day, the task. Then I've got one that like 3 other tasks that I'd like to complete in that day. And then I've got the other part that has tasks that I need to complete for that week.
So goal setting and list planning.
Yeah, just
planning your day, planning your week.
I mean, I don't like to plan my days. I guess,
be spontaneous?
Yeah, I mean, I do have set things like, like the yoga classes and stuff like that. Those can change. I started doing it at night now, which is pretty cool. So I guess, I'm kind of spontaneous in that regard. I don't like to have things set in stone, but I like to know, what I have to do. So I don't have to do it at a specific time, but at least that day I got to get it done.
That's good.
Yeah.
I can't relate to that because I don't do that. I don't do that as much as I probably should. I'm more right now focused on making sure I can step outside of my front door. I'm actually taking something for that, so it's been a lot easier than it has been in the past. But I would say my work life has been challenging when it comes to my self-care. I haven't been really going to work, and I'm actually returning on Friday. And it's that taking the time to understand what I need from my workplace and from myself to take care of all of my needs. So my intention is to go in there and do the job and do it well. But I've had to take a lot of mental health days. And this can be challenging for people, taking a mental health day. People take days for when they have the flu or if they have a migraine, they might take a sick day, but they have challenges when taking mental health days because of the stigma behind mental health. You know, I've recently feared, and again, this is a part, just going before I go back to self-care, I've recently feared that I'm going to lose my job because of all the time that I've missed, all the mental health days I've had to take. But I realize in order to take care of myself, those days were absolutely necessary because I couldn't function in my position, in the condition that I was in. So I can't think about the stigma. I can't think about what work might be thinking of me for taking this time that I so needed for myself. I can only just kind of get back into it and hope that they see that I'll be able to achieve the way I was achieving before.
I don't know. I've never been in a situation where I've taken a mental health day.
Why do you think that is? Have you never felt like you needed one?
No. I don't think I've ever needed. I mean, if I need a day off, I need a day off, and I've taken days off. You know, you've called in sick. We've all called in sick at one point,
and we're not really sick.
And we're not sick, and we just lounge around at home. And
That's kind of a mental health day, though. Like, what about when you're experiencing burnout, for instance? That's an important time to take care of yourself.
I don't think I've ever gotten to burnout point.
You've never gotten to burnout point?
In a job? No. I don't think I've gotten to the burnout point in a job.
Well, burnout is one of those things that it kind of goes hand in hand with taking care of yourself, because when you're not taking care of yourself and you're experiencing burnout, it's physical, it's emotional, it's psychological. Everything kind of breaks down. You're zapped of energy. And you're completely depleted, and you need to take care of yourself in that moment. So you might take a mental health day.
Because the last job that I had, where I probably could have gone into burnout, they had on-site facilities, like they had an on-site gym. That was really good. So you can go in a bit early. I mean, the gym was even open on weekends, and so like they had that there. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't think there was ever a chance to get to burnout, because if you had any aggression, you just go to the gym, work out, and you're good. There were showers and everything. Like it was a really good, it was a really nice facility, nice place. So they kind of limited the I guess the ability for employees to burn out. I don't know. I mean, I remember the last time I felt burnout in my job. It was when I was doing incentive travel events, and it was one of those things where everything became, I was essentially a glorified telemarketer. So I was making like 100 calls every day. I was, getting cursed out a lot, getting hung up on a lot. Like it was a very stressful position. It seemed like it would have been easy, but just experiencing it, I felt completely burnt out to the point where I had to quit my job. I was so terrified of taking a mental health day for myself, letting them know that I was having mental health issues, that I eventually just couldn't do the job, and I had to just move on. There was no space in that job for me to take care of my mental health. And that often happens with people, I find. But is that you just not recognizing? Because, I mean, at some point you recognize this job is not for me. Mm-hmm. And instead of you exiting that job at that time, you waited to a point till I'm going to say you got fired because you didn't quit your job. So you waited to that point. Because I mean, a lot of times, like I've been in jobs where I haven't been happy, and the second I'm in, I used to be in jobs where I wasn't happy. I haven't been in a job where I haven't been happy in probably 8 years.
That's really good.
Because I took the time to, when I'm looking at an application, when I was still looking for I would look at the application. Does this job fit me? Do I want to be here? Because I think that's something that a lot of people don't look at as well. Because for your mental health is look at the job application. They tell you what the job is when you're applying for the job. You know, like, this is just a job for you. Do you really want this job, or are you just taking this job for the sake of taking a job and getting money and getting yourself? For example, for you wanted to move from the suburbs to the city, so you took pretty much the first job that was available to you, even though it wasn't the right fit. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I learned a long time ago that you got to sometimes look for the right fit, and that's what companies do when they're hiring you. That's the whole interview purpose, the interview process. That's what it's for, to find out if you're the right fit. And you know, you gotta understand whether or not, okay, is this role for me? Because if the role is not for you, you're gonna suffer burnout. So for me, like, I know I'm not a developer in IT. Like, I don't like sitting and writing code. Mm-hmm. Right? So the jobs that I've done where I've had to write code, I hated them. Mm-hmm. But jobs where I'm, you know, doing administrative work, like, you know, building systems, doing migrations, or, you know, analytical stuff where I'm, you know, balancing numbers for technology, or, you know, project management, I strive in those areas. I enjoy those areas. So when I'm doing those jobs, no matter how painstaking they might be, I'm enjoying myself because it's something that I like doing. So I'm not going to suffer burnout. Mm-hmm. So I think that sometimes there's more things that we got to do to help our mental health, and that sometimes is, what are you doing in your life that is going to put you in a position to burn out? And if you are doing that, then you shouldn't be doing that in the first place.
Creating a no list.
Exactly.
Create a no list. Like this, these are the things I'm willing to accept, and these are the things that I'm not willing to accept. Like, and that's I find that's for women sometimes.
Come on, you guys
most
do it
of the times it's very challenging.
Treat the job like you treat your men. I'm not going to be with him if he doesn't have a car, he doesn't have a place, if he doesn't have. Just do that.
Treat your job like you treat your men, women. Here, this is straight from JR's mouth. Come on, right now. Yeah, but I feel like when it comes to taking care of yourself, though, one of the things you have to recognize when you are in a position, again, is saying no to certain demands and structuring your life so that.
What do you mean by saying no in certain positions?
I'll give my retail position as an example.
Give an example.
Earlier on in the year, we talked about this on the seasonal affective disorder episode.
You mean last year?
Oh yeah, last year. I forgot we're in 2019. Last year, we talked about my seasonal affective disorder and how it was affecting me at work. They had scheduled me. They'd continuously for the last year been scheduling me until 11 o'clock at night, or 11. And I would get home at around 11:30. I'd have to take my meds, do my whole process. It became too much, too daunting.
Okay, so now when you applied for that position, on the application, it said, these are the store hours, and we're offering you 0 to 24 hours of employment between these hours. And you said yes.
Yes.
So they gave you what they said they were going to give you.
No, they asked for your availability, and I gave open availability.
Okay, and
that was my mistake.
And there you have it. So you were in a position where they said, tell us what you're available for, and when you tell us, we're going to give you what we deem as something that we can work with, and what is best for the business. Mm-hmm. So you gave open availability. They scheduled you when they wanted to schedule you. You made a choice not to put your mental health first.
Yeah, and I recognize that it took a year, but I recognize that as soon as, September, October hit, that I just simply physically couldn't do it anymore.
So but I don't like saying no. I mean,
how I said no, how I positioned it, I should say, is I changed my availability to closing. So I would only work until 9:30 from open to close. Okay. They continued to schedule me. Everything was fine. They were agreeable to that, but I had to explain to them, listen, this is something that's affecting my mental health. Like this, working this late, working these hours, having to take my medication at such a late time at night, not being able to fall asleep until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Like, this is going to cause challenges in my job. So I need to take care of myself. I need to say no to these later shifts. I'm unable to do them. And I had to be honest with myself, and I had to be honest with my workplace about it, because it was important. It was important for myself and my mental health, taking care of myself. So coming up with a no list is key. What other things? Let me think. One thing I want to talk to you about: self-care and social media.
I don't understand where you're going.
So I was reading an article, and it was saying that self-care has become kind of a hashtag. Self-love, hashtag self-love, self-care. But it's impossible to take care of yourself when you're on social media, because you're basically supposed to, when you're doing self-care, you're supposed to be living in the moment instead of like succumbing to the pressures like of social media. So,
which are
FOMO, constant need to post, constant need to share your life, not just constantly needing to tune in and to, I think you succumb to that pressure of tuning in all the time and being on your devices all the time. I don't think you can take care of yourself whilst doing that. So social media has become a big, as I said, a big thing with hashtagging your self-care. Oh, went to the gym, hashtag self-care. No, you're doing something in the moment for yourself. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need, the pressure to post doesn't need to be there for you.
Oh, okay. What was the question again?
Just wondering how you feel about people being able to take care of themselves while being on social media.
I think you can. I think there's a happy medium. I mean, everything in moderation, but when you go to the extremes, then no good. I mean, it's kind of cool to, some people might find inspiration from others as opposed to celebrities. So that might make it okay. I don't know. I know personally I find it hard to live my life and keep up with social media.
Exactly.
So I know that most of the photos on my social media are things that I happen to snap if I had the chance, or somebody else took the photo. Most of them, somebody else took the photo. And I think some of the best times in my life have been instances that are not available on social media, when everyone who's there is in the moment and is not worried about
you're living in the moment,
presenting whatever's going on. But I think it is possible. I mean, like, you know, sometimes it's nice to, you know, get some snaps, you know, throw some photos up of, you know, what's going on to share with, you know, some people that you care about, or if you're, you know, on that extreme end of an influence or some sort of entertainer talent, then your fans, you know, whatever. Like, it's kind of cool. Like, in some regards, like, I don't know, like The Rock, every now and then, like, his stuff's pretty cool. Or like Will Smith, like, some of their stuff's kind of cool to like watch, but they're also probably paying someone to film that at the same time. But I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like social media presents self-care as not a difficult thing to do. Like, it's easy to hashtag it, hashtag self-care, hashtag self-love, Instagram it and Twitter it and all that stuff. It's easy to do that, but it's harder to actually do what you say you're doing and have it have a reason, a meaning, and a purpose in your life.
Yeah, like we talked about it. Actually, you kind of baited me into this conversation earlier. Oh my gosh.
Did I?
Yeah, you baited me into it, where I was just like, if you really want to take care of yourself and you know, understand, it takes a lot of work, and a lot of it's you as I guess you can't have it on social media, a lot of the stuff that you got to do. You know, understanding yourself, take a look in the mirror, seeing that you're, you know, a shitty person, and you gotta fix it, and you gotta fix it, and you gotta fix it.
You have to be kinder.
You gotta be kinder, and you gotta fix it, right? Kinder to yourself, kinder to others. You know, that's because self-care. It's also how you treat others.
It's building relationships.
Building relationships. Yeah.
Because when you have, that was one thing I did also want to speak about. When you have positive self-care, and it's kind of, I guess, redundant to say positive self-care, but when you have self-care in your life, it helps you build relationships not only with yourself, with others as well. And when you're in a place where you're confident and you're happy, it also elevates your self-esteem, which helps build those relationships. It also gives you healthier and functional boundaries, where people know how to manage manage that relationship with you. So I think self-care is one of those things that you're not just doing it for you, you're doing it to better others as well.
Can you say that boundaries thing all over again? Because I think I strongly disagree, so I just need to hear it again.
No, I was saying when you're taking care of yourself, like when you're in a happy, healthy place, you're able to set healthier boundaries for yourself, which helps people manage like how to deal with you in an everyday situation in everyday life.
So positive self-care allows you to set
positive boundaries.
Okay. No, I disagree.
Really?
Yep. I think your parents teach you how to set boundaries.
We kind of went through this.
Yeah,
where
I'm
you
not
don't
gonna-
think people
I'm not
can
gonna-
teach themselves, can they? You can't teach yourself how to set proper boundaries, healthier boundaries.
I think you need after a certain point, your parents teach you this stuff when you're young, and I think after a certain point, you need the input of. That's where like therapists come in, where they can be objective and say, no, "Have you thought about it this way? You're a piece of shit, and you need to fix yourself." I don't mean it that way, but like,
I know what you mean.
But yeah, I mean, how do you know? I don't think that you can really, on your own accord, really learn how to set boundaries. I think you need the influence of somebody else.
I can see that.
I don't know how else to explain it, but that's kind of where I kind of sit on that one. I don't think you can really just wake up one day and say, I'm taking care of myself, and I have now better boundaries.
But I don't understand why not. If you're taking better care of yourself, I think when it comes to the positive stuff and your happiness, and you add in self-esteem with it, some confidence, throw in a little bit of confidence, throw in a little bit of self-awareness.
But
can you not create
I don't think you can
proper boundaries for yourself?
I don't think you can get there without the help of somebody else.
That's true. I could see that.
Like all the things that you named there are great. You might be able to deal with one of those things on your own, but as a collective, you need somebody else's perspective.
And I'm in therapy, so I know what you're talking about.
I think and it needs to be someone who's got a fairly good understanding of human psychology. Because a lot of times if you lack a lot of those characteristics, there's deeper problems, there's deeper issues that need to be resolved, and you just can't sugarcoat them by saying I'm going to treat myself better and now setting these boundaries. You need to resolve. It's one of those whole things with the whole cause and effect. You're treating the effect instead of understanding what the cause is, and then going and working on that. And that's what like therapy is. You're looking at instead of dealing with the effects, you deal with the causes in therapy. And I think that's so. Yeah, I don't think you can learn to set better boundaries without learning why you don't have boundaries in the first place. And I think it takes a special kind of person to really understand that on their own. And I don't know. I just think it would be really hard to figure that kind of stuff out on your own. Unless you're like isolated and you have time to like just think all day.
You're like Tom Hanks on the island.
Yeah, like some kind of like solitary confinement.
The volleyball, just talking to the volleyball. Yeah, no, I think a lot of it has to do with your coping strategies as well, and whether or not you know when you need to implement self-care. Like self-care is a daily thing. But there are times when you might be in crisis, for instance, where you need to implement a radical self-care plan. And if you're not aware of how you cope with a situation, it's hard to come up with a plan for that situation.
But how do you recognize that on your own? And how do you even recognizing something like that on your own, and then having the skill set or the necessary tools to build a plan, I don't think that's possible on your own.
Well, it's asking yourself questions like, how do you deal with life's demands? Do you know when it's time to take a break? Are you aware that you're not exhibiting signs of self-care?
But how would you know to ask those questions of yourself without the input of somebody else?
Well, it's the people that surround you too. You're right. You have to have input from someone else. You can't necessarily know that.
Like sometimes
on your own.
it might just be. It could even be as simple as you just looking at the people that are your friends and saying, "These 3 people are messed up, and I hang around them all the time, day in, day out. Am I messed up too?" Like it could be something as simple. Like I think
everyone has a light bulb moment at some
be,
point. Like, I think people have that light bulb moment. When you're sitting in shit and it starts to stink, you're going to say to yourself, this shit stinks. Like, I'm not supposed to be in this. What can I do to get myself out of this? And whether it's you go to therapy, you join support groups, you do some kind of counseling, or you consult friends and family members, people who are going to be honest and true to you and tell you what's really going on, and tell you about yourself, things that you probably don't even know about yourself. Like, those are all elements of self-care. It's not just you by yourself taking care of yourself. There's an emotional aspect, there's a social aspect, there's a spiritual aspect. Like, there's different aspects of it, and I wanted to talk about that as well. So for the physical, for instance, if you're going to implement a self-care plan, you want to start doing things like I did for myself today, going to do some exercise. Like you do for yourself, doing some yoga, getting out, walking everywhere instead of taking the subway, things like that. So it's physical, it's also emotional. So some people will do things like make a gratitude list. What are they grateful for in this moment, in this day? Or they'll do things like make that no list and say no to what they don't want and things they no longer want to continue in their lives. So that's focused on emotion. Can you think of any like emotional or physical things other than what I just mentioned that you do?
I don't like emotions.
Then there's psychological. So you do this, I know you do this because you read almost every day, if not every day. So you try to learn something new. You try to fill your mind with positive things and positive thoughts to get through the day. Is that fair to say?
No, I don't do things like that to get through the day. I do things like that because I'm actually interested in doing things like that. So it's not like I'm trying to take up time because I'm
bored or anything.
Bored or anything. No, I do things because I enjoy
Wrong
them.
choice of words, but you enjoy doing that. You take care of yourself psychologically.
If that's what it means, sure. Yeah.
Then there's social. I've been trying to socialize outside of my home for the last little while. Haven't really gotten around to it, but trying.
Yeah.
Connecting with family and friends, talking on the phone, even if it's for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, doing whatever I can to stay connected with the people in my world. That's key. That's very, very important when it comes to self-care. Having that support system, communicating with my team, making sure they know what's going on with me, where I'm at mentally, emotionally, etc. So your social self-care would be what?
I guess being in. Well, I go to yoga. That's a social thing. You take everybody's positive energy. It's a good thing. Also, I guess like my improv stuff, like that. There's different people there. I guess I'm social when I'm doing my comedy stuff. We've got like friend groups, and other social groups.
You've named a lot of stuff that has to do with self-care.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. The spiritual might not resonate with you, but it's just the beliefs and values.
What is that supposed to be?
That are important to you.
What is that supposed to be?
Means you're the devil.
Wow. Let me tell you something about spirituality. Okay, I'm very spiritual.
You're very spiritual.
I'm very spiritual.
So the beliefs and values that are important to you. So maintaining those, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I could. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And professional, making sure you're working. That's what I'd like to be doing right now before I lose my job, getting back to work. But another thing that women also find troubling to do, and what got me in my firing position in the first place, was not being able to negotiate for myself.
Yeah, it's your fault.
That's all my fault. So negotiating your needs, and it could be something as simple as making sure you eat every day when you go to work. If you're working away from home, it's simple things. Professional development, taking courses, taking classes, which is what I'm currently doing now. Taking my courses for peer support work, trying to establish a career, move on in life. So there's professional, financial. Basically, take care of your money. Take care of your money. Don't waste your money. Don't be frivolous. Mm-hmm. Have a checkings and a savings, and pay your bills on time and do your taxes when they're supposed to be done. So that's financial.
Yeah.
And lastly, environmental. I see your space every time I walk in here, and kudos to you. It is the picture of cleanliness.
Okay.
Like the picture of.
Oh, nice.
It's decluttered. It's very comforting to be in this space.
Don't stay a while.
I won't stay a while. I won't stay past this podcast. But it's very comforting to be in a space that's completely decluttered. Your environment is very organized. I always appreciate that coming here. My environment is very cluttered with stuff. I try to keep it organized.
You made a choice to do.
I made a choice to clutter. I have to declutter. Spring cleaning is coming.
Didn't you say that last year?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Did
okay.
I? Maybe. Let's rewind and check back.
Okay.
But those are the things that you want to focus on. Those elements, those 8 elements, are the things you want to focus on daily. But I was talking to you earlier about having an emergency self-care plan for when you're in some kind of crisis and you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing to take care of yourself. You kind of have to check in. So for me, for example, it's been hard to relax and stay calm. So I've been trying to do more meditation, more guided visualizations to soothe and calm myself, on top of taking my Ativan, which I know that's a medication to help me soothe and calm myself. But I've been trying to find effective ways to stay calm and not so anxious. So that's one thing that you definitely would need to do. As well, your self-talk. I know we've talked about self-talk before, but my self-talk has sounded like recently, you could do this, you've got this, just go out there and be somebody. Like,
I don't like self-talk. Now that I think
don't
about
like
it,
self-talk?
I don't like it.
You don't talk to yourself?
I don't like it. Not anymore. No, I don't like it.
You don't talk to yourself?
No, I don't like. I don't like that whole like looking in the mirror. You can do it. Like that whole like.
You don't need to look in the mirror.
But even that whole like talking like you can do it. You can like. I don't like that.
You could do this. Like,
I don't
you
like
can get
that.
over this. You can
I don't
move
like
on.
that.
You can
No,
move forward.
I don't like doing that.
You
I just do it. Let's go do it. Like,
let's just do it.
Let's do it. Like, forget that. Let's go jump out of a plane. Let's go on stage for the first time. Let's just do it. Like, stop like trying to pump yourself up. Just go do it. Like,
sometimes you need to pump yourself up, though.
I don't know.
Sometimes it's necessary that having that positive self-talk, because if you don't have positive self-talk, we talked about this, you have negative self-talk, and then you're telling yourself, shit that probably isn't even true.
I just don't like. I don't like pep talks before doing things. I don't like pep talks.
Were you never into team sports?
Yeah, but I just don't like pep talks. Like, I don't want someone pep talking me, so I don't pep talk myself. I'm like, I'm just gonna go do this. Like, that's what it's about. Like, I'm here for a reason.
Self-talk is still really important, whether JR does it or not.
yeah, absolutely. No. You got to do what works for you. Like,
you have to do what works for you. It's individual.
That's the only reason why we're here. I'm just saying, some people might be like, I don't want to do that, and like, it's fine. Like, I personally don't like sitting. Like, I don't want to like just say, okay, you're gonna go up there, you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it well. No, because that psychs me out. That actually makes me more nervous. That actually makes me feel worse, as opposed to just saying, okay, there's something that I got to go do. Oh, it's my turn. I'm gonna go do it right now.
It's so funny you said that, because I had, during the course of learning more about self-care, I had read something that said that people who suffer from anxiety have a huge problem with doing things for themselves because they feel guilt and they feel...
Are you trying to say I have anxiety and I'm guilty?
No. I'm just saying, like, what the self-talk, like telling yourself, do something nice for yourself every day, do something pleasurable, do something relaxing. Like, they connect it with their self-worth. Like, I'm not worthy of doing this for myself. And they also connect it with guilt. Like, I should be doing, like, let's say a mother of two, husband, they all work, the husband and wife work, you know, but she needs to take care of herself as well. So she might feel guilt taking care of herself over, you know, versus taking care of her kids in that moment or taking care of her husband in that moment.
I'm not touching that one.
You're not touching that one?
Nope.
No, so I it was just a weird thing I read. I didn't realize people that had anxiety, and it's not a study or anything, it was just an article, but I didn't realize that they would have such a problem with self-care and taking care of themselves. Like, it's constant, because what anxiety is those constant worrying thoughts in your head. Like, it's this constant stressor in your head, worrying about what's going on in the world around you, what's going on with you, what's going on with people that you know.
Yeah, you got to stop. Yeah, like eventually you just got to stop.
It's
I'm not. It's easier said than done. I'm just saying it's because if I start self-talking, like I got that's going to give me quote unquote anxiety. Like trying to give myself a pep talk, like that kind of. That'll mess me up. Just I can't do that. It's going to make whatever it is. It's going to make it seem bigger than it actually is. Mm-hmm. It's like the letdown, like the first time you have sex, which is it's just a letdown. It's what other things? I don't know. What was a letdown? What was a big letdown?
First dates?
Sure. Not really, because I don't really expect anything. I've never really expected anything from those. I don't know. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so you also have to have social supports. We talked about that before. Making sure your friends, family, and your team are on your side and they're at the ready to talk with you or be with you if you need them to be, especially if you're going through an emergency crisis and you need to take care of yourself. And also focusing on your mood, checking in with yourself on a regular basis, seeing what your mood is like. Is it high? Is it low? You know, what are you going through? And some of these things, helping, you know, writing them down, journaling, making lists are all good ideas for, you know, figuring out what your self-care plan going forward is going to be. So you want to create a daily plan. You want to list a couple of coping strategies. So things like breathing, meditation, exercise, whatever the coping strategy is, you want to list a couple of coping strategies. And you also, after creating your emergency plan, you want to make sure you're talking about things that are going to be harmful and things that are going to be helpful to you. Because there's no point in saying you're gonna participate in self-care when you're doing things that's going to be harmful to yourself, like over drinking or overeating or any of those types of things. You know, so you want to make a list of things that you would normally do that would be helpful to you and things that you would normally do that might be harmful to you, and have that list at the ready so that you can refer to it when you really need to. I wanted to also talk about the wellness industry and how they've kind of turned self-care into a process of perfection. You know, they made room for mental health in wellness. It's often talked about. But when it comes to self-care, it's like, if you do this, this, and this, you'll have the perfect body, or you'll have the perfect health, or you'll have the perfect self-care plan. There's no perfect plan for this in my mind. I think it's something that's really individualized.
Or should be.
How you take care of yourself, JR, is not going to necessarily work for me. And vice versa.
100%.
So I think that it's just one of those things where it's really it has to come from the individual. They need to want it. They need to want to take care of themselves.
Well, that's why you share your experiences so people can kind of cherry pick like a buffet and see what works for them. Like, you know, a lot of people talk about self-care and they talk about, like for a lot of men, they talk about going to the gym and lifting a lot of weights and doing. I do not want to do, I don't want to lift a weight. I don't want to lift any weights. I don't want to go to a gym. You know, like I would rather work with my own body weight and my own flexibility and my own core strength. That's what I'd rather do. Yoga works for me. Might not work for everybody else. For you, you might not like yoga. You might like going to the gym. I mean, but as long as you're doing something that kind of helps you stay fit, stay well, you know, I think that's more. So I think it's better to cherry pick, like share your experiences, and then whatever someone else can get from that experience, they take it or leave it. Like you don't have to agree with everything that you or I say. Someone doesn't have to agree with everything that you or I say, but someone might like the fact that you say, you know what, I need to go see a therapist, and I think from what Onika's experience on like cognitive behavioral therapy, and I've listened to the podcast from the beginning to now, and I'm seeing how she's changed, and she's saying she's used that. Maybe that'll help. But JR says that he likes waking up in the morning at 5:30 to start his day.
Yeah,
and that might work best for me as well. So someone might combine the two of those, and you never know. So I think it's just a matter of hearing what options are out there, getting more familiar with what things that we can do, instead of looking for perfection, looking what works for us.
Yeah, it's about progress, not perfection. That's what I would say. It's about a progression of learning about who you are and what works well and what doesn't work for you, and like you said, cherry picking, basically.
Yeah.
Cherry picking and deciding what's best at the end of the day. No one can really tell anyone how to take care of themselves. That's something that we all have to learn on our own if we haven't learned it already. There's going to be challenges on the road to self-care because most people don't even realize they're not taking care of themselves right now. Like, I think a lot of people are going through life not realizing because self-care to me is a deliberate, I was saying earlier, it's a deliberate action. It's not something that happens to you. It's not like you deliberately go every day to yoga. That is something you deliberately do. Not something that just happens to happen to you. Like you get a $50 gift certificate in the mail and you go shopping. Like,
no, we have to make choices in our lives, and we have to take our lives into our own hands, and that's a lot. That's a challenge for a lot of people, accepting that you are responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
You're responsible for the choices you make. The choices you make have consequences. If you want A, you can't have B. That's a tough part. I think that's one of the biggest challenges people face with regards to their self-care, their mental health, everything. Even you saying as being an advocate for yourself, you have to want something and you have to accept that you are responsible for yourself. And anything that happens, you need to be able to, accept it and kind of use it to your benefit, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much information online about self-care. If you want to just Google self-care activities, they'll give you a slew of things that you could do to take care of yourself.
I hate to interrupt you, but if I hate like saying, oh, just look things up to find out to find things that are help you with self-care. You know what? If you're an adult who's probably like over 25, 30, think about the things you enjoyed doing as a kid.
Fair.
And do those things. That's been my, like, what do you think my life has been? What do you think my life has been for the past year and a half? I loved improvs. Whose Line Is It Anyway? I liked sketch comedy in living color. What did I go do? I went to class and started doing that.
Very fair.
I loved in elementary school. I loved dodgeball and soccer, baseball. What did I go do? I went and did those things. Like the things that made you smile as a kid. Go try and find out those things as an adult. Like those are things that's been my self-care. Because find a point in your life where you were happy.
And go with it.
And go with those things. So at that point in my life, I was happy. I enjoy music. That's the mainstay of my life still, not to the degree it was before, but I still like. I got a title account that I listen to some playlists and stuff. Like do things that you enjoy. As you were talking, that just popped in my mind. I hate to interrupt you there.
Don't worry about it. Facts, like you're spewing so many facts right now. I feel like for me, people ask me that all the time. Like my therapist asked me this morning, what do you do that makes you feel calm? Because being calm is a part of, as we talked about, self-care. What do you do to make yourself feel calm? And I looked at her and I couldn't answer the question because I'm 0 to 100. Like my vibration sometimes is so like I'm vibrating. Like I'm always vibrating. I'm either at alert or like I have trouble just relaxing and being. So I'm the one who would Google a list of enjoyable things to do. I know I like journaling. I know I like to write. I know.
You want me to answer the question? Want me to answer your question for you?
Sure.
Read a book.
Read a book. I started Content Rules.
Yeah, but did you not hear? I just answered. What keeps you calm? Read a book.
Read a book. Honestly, I haven't read in so long.
Think about the things. I don't know. Like someone asked me, how do I keep? I don't like people in my space. Mm-hmm. So
amen.
Get out of my space. Leave me alone.
That's
how I can be calm. No, just having nobody in my space will keep me calm. Like not having people around me will keep me calm. But yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I just I know I have to start exhibiting more self-care just as the weeks are going on. I have to just take care of myself, but sometimes it's hard to figure out what to do. And thank you, JR, for saying read a book. That's definitely one of the things that's going to be in my toolbox. But there's other things like my problem right now is getting outside and being active outside of my home. That's been a bit of a struggle for me. So taking care of myself in that way, making sure that I go out for a walk every day, or I connect with someone for coffee, or whatever the case may be, being outside of my home, because inside of my home I feel safe. Outside of my home I do not sometimes. So making sure that I'm taking care of myself in that way has been really key in the last couple of weeks, I would say. But going back to my childhood and things that I used to like, I think that's a really good idea. I'm going to ruminate on that one a little bit and see what I come up with. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And as I said to you, if you are one of those people who do not necessarily know, what self-care is, and I hope this has educated you a little bit, but what self-care is and what you could do to take care of yourself, then just Google it. Google is an amazing thing. So just Google it and they'll give you a list and you could just cherry pick, as JR said, not to steal his term, but cherry pick what you like, what you don't like, and you'll know right away what you're like, I'm not doing this. I'm not into this. So there's going to be something for you. There's something for everyone out there. So with that said, that has been the dish of the day. If you guys want to get in touch with us to talk about self-care or how you take care of yourselves, if you have any advice for me, I'm always open to hearing it. I'm always open to new experiences. So if you have anything to tell me, just let me know. And JR, please tell them how they can reach us.
Absolutely. You can reach us at Dysh, DYSH, at daintydish.com. That's DAINTYDYSH.com. You can also check out Onika and more of her opinions on onikadainty.com. You can check her Twitter feed out at @onikadainty and Instagram at bestofonika. Thank you so much for listening. If you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts,
give us a 5, you deserve a 5.
Thank you so much. If you're listening to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, any of the other platforms, we thank you so much for listening. We truly appreciate you. And yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Like I said, that has been the dish of the day. Thank you so much, Jared, for the great conversation. And y'all have yourselves a very, very, very happy hump day.